American Airlines is up more than 4% today on 3 upgrades to buy, or that equivalent. Among them is Jefferies, calling American the most mismodeled U.S. airline and raising their price target to 20 from 12. Joining me now is the analyst behind that call, Shia Kayalu. She covers the airlines defense for Jefferies. Sheila, it's great to see you again. And I mean, why bother with American? Why not just go, United, Delta, all the way? What's so mismodeled about this company?
Thanks so much, Kelly. Well, United has been one of our top calls last year, and we think American can join the group. Really 4 reasons behind our upgrade, and the biggest one is less capacity in the U.S. market. So 75% of American Airlines flights are to short-haul domestic capacity as well as Latin America. And that's where they saw pricing down about 10% on our estimates last year. And we think as capacity comes out of the market, most there, especially with Southwest, their biggest competitor, exiting a lot of that market, we think comps could become easier for American, making it part of the mismodeling. The second area is corporate.
Go ahead.
Sure. On the corporate area, they took a bit of a misstep last year. So they lost about $1.5 billion out of their $54 billion of revenues last year as they exited third-party vendors. And they really lost out on high-margin business, say 20% operating margins, where existing American Airlines margins are about 5%. So they exited a high margin revenue business, and they're going back into those markets. So for those 2 reasons, we think American has very easy comps in 2025.
Fair enough. Although the question, the logic behind doing so might call some to question, sticking with management at this point. I also just think about, look, United has this buzzy deal with Starlink today. Delta, every time you turn around, they're doing another kind of upscale, contemporary offering for flyers. And American, maybe I'm stuck in the mindset of 4 years ago, has a ton of debt, do they not?
Yeah, American is one of the most levered airlines at 5 times earnings, 5 times debt to EBITDA. But, I think Delta has nailed it in terms of being a consumer staple company and steadily growing and providing optionality for investors. United, thinks out of the box, whether it's Starlink or otherwise, its international platform. So we think American can join the big top 3 again, especially as Southwest steps back in the market and you see other capacity exiting the market from the low-cost carriers. And it's most beneficial, essentially, to American Airlines.
When you say, it's mismodeled, do you mean like literally in terms of kind of earnings projections, or is it more a balance sheet kind of thing?
More earnings projections. We could see upside to earnings, especially if capacity stays disciplined. We think they could outperform on the top line. Again, 75% of their revenues essentially saw 10% price declines last year. So if there's any sort of improvement to that, every 1 point of price is about 10% to EBITDA. So that's where we could see the most upside potential. Another reason why we like American is a credit card deal they announced late in December, which kind of got under the radar, although the stock is up quite a bit since then. They're going solo with Citigroup. And so essentially in 2026, you start to see this high margin, high revenue opportunity as well as they reset their credit card deal starting in 2026.
I know we have to go, Sheila, but when you mentioned kind of that we're going to see fares basically moving up next year, I think, well, then where's the consumer going to go if they're looking for a cheaper flight?
I think that's the problem. I just booked my tickets for Martin Luther King weekend, and for short haul domestic flight, they were quite expensive. So I think we're going to see capacity exiting the market, prices increasing, and that's going to be a potential story for 2025 for the U.S. carriers, specifically Delta, United, and American Airlines.
Maybe an inflation story too. I'm going to keep my eye on that.